I'm going to share with you some photos that I have, and I'm going to also read a little bit from the Old Testament. So if you just open anywhere in this whole thing, and we're talking about Yahweh, I have heard of your renown, your work. Yahweh inspires me with dread. Repeat it in your own time. Reveal it in our time. For all your wrath, remember to be merciful. And then there's another section in here about the plague goes in front of him. Fever follows on his heels. When he stands up, he makes the earth tremble. With the glance, he makes the nations quake. Then the ancient mountains are dislodged. So basically, if you turn anywhere in this whole book, we're looking at a wrathful and jealous deity. If you look to Numbers and the whole of the story about the grabbing of the women, if a man dies without sons, his inheritance is passed to his daughter. If he has no daughter, then the inheritance goes to his brothers. All of these are laws, but one of the main things that I noticed in here when I was reading this stuff was in Numbers 29:4, section C, I guess you would call that, the feast of the new moon. At the beginning of each of your months, you must offer a holocaust to Yahweh. 2 young bulls, 1 ram, 7 yearling lambs without blemish, and for each bull an oblation of 3/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil, and so forth. And all of this must be done monthly, holocaust, month after month, every month of the year, in addition to the perpetual holocaust of a he-goat must be offered to Yahweh as a sacrifice for sin with its accompanying libation. And it goes on about the various accompanying libations, and this must be done in addition to the perpetual holocaust. And it tells on and on about these bulls and rams that have to be sacrificed. So when I think about that, I think whatever this entity is in here that is calling itself God and is looking forward to the libations and the accompanying perpetual holocaust, that's what's going on again. So I am amazed at the people who want to stay here, who want to be in this place, but I found an old text. Actually, a client made sure that I knew about this. And if you look at the images, we're looking at some really bizarre naked people doing some strange things. And then we see this introduction of a Magdalene. And she's being brought down from some other place. All right, so those of you who can read Latin, I think it's Latin, and this is some beings bringing down this female entity who's covered with hair that has a halo around her head, and it seems like she has come from some place that was a world that was water. And this is what I've heard again and again from the Draconians, is that they brought this being, this female being, from some other place, from a water world, and then they created layers, and the layers became layers and layers where each of the archons would reside. So if you look really closely here, we've got the little starry things, but at the center is this water world. But look, it's upside down. It's been inverted. So this is an ancient text. And then, amazingly, these 2 fingers of whatever this Yahweh thing is doing some Yahweh thing. to create the land and some strange tree. Wonder what that tree is. Oh, I wonder if it's the Garden of Eden. And then let's go into the perpetual Holocaust in this place before I get back to that. Cannot see these things, but we know that everybody who has the CCR5 delta 32 mutation, which only goes with the Rh negative group, they will survive this because they are not prone to what is happening. So it was definitely a device for the demise of the Rh positive. But I listened again to a researcher around the Rh negative, and he confirmed that the Rh negative DNA starts to fall unless it breeds out to the Rh positive, because it's literally a fallen DNA that has a lot of issues. Now, that's true unless you have these people with Neuralinks, you know, the good Stepford wives, with Neuralinks and CRISPR gene technology children. And then you don't need the Rh positive group anymore. So the perpetual Holocaust can continue. That's, I mean, this is, 6 minutes. I basically said it, but I'm going to tell you some interesting things that happened, and then I'm going to get into this picture and a little bit more with genuflect. So where we are, I understand, is that this being, Baphomet, is a egregore of the head of John the Baptist, Baphomet, and Sophia Akhmeth, which is Sophia. So they've created something, an egregore, that will talk to them and tell them what to do. It doesn't mean that those people, John the Baptist, was a bad person. They're using his skull, they're using his skull. But what the universe actually looks like, and this is what people don't really understand, is that the universe actually looks something like this. Okay, it's a hologram of a cosmic egg. And then what that appears to for us, because it is a holographic universe, because of our body technologies, is it spreads out from the universe into something that looks like this in our own particular system environment. And then, yes, it ends up looking like a place with trees and land and water and so forth. But it is actually layered fields of consciousness. That's what the galaxy looks like. So when I was talking about the fact that Andromeda was a chained woman, she was taken by the Dracos across Eridanos. And that image, as above, so below, basically looks like, and I will pull this up, because it's the geometries that are projected on the ground, as above, so below. So you can see, and just take a screenshot, that this is Britain, but if you, and I'm trying to read it upside down and backwards, the Dracos took Andromeda across Eridanos, the great river, which is about where Hadrian's Wall is, and they took her into captivity, and I'm assuming that she looked about something like this after she came down from the celestial place of this great cosmic egg. And this is an image of Magdalene as we see her here. So if you look at it, what it is, she is on the edge of water on a grotto with a bunch of crushed flowers all around her body. She has red hair, and to me, she looks like she's just been raped. So that is how this place was formed and continues to be formed. It's a perpetual Holocaust. That's what this place is. So I shared a picture of myself this week on a beach in Panama City, and I shared a comparison picture from the 1980s where there were people, families, people going out on their little rafty type of things, folks sitting under umbrellas, children playing. And then the photo that was taken of me at high noon on a perfectly glorious day, wearing shorts, and there's nobody there. And I've spoken about the holographic inserts for a couple of years now, that these houses are empty. And when we were in Panama City, there were 17 pages of listings, like virtually every other house in that entire section of Florida is for sale. And the other thing around here, my daughter, when she was here, she actually went into a house, because there's a lot of houses that are absolutely empty, like totally empty. And the clothes were still there, the dishes were still there, clothes were still hanging in the closet, and the place had been abandoned. So there's definitely something going on. I think it is called a perpetual Holocaust and the accompanying libation. The other thing I heard this week from a client was that the way he found me was that he was at some Christian revival thing, and they shared one of my videos. They shared a machine elf long time ago about the tunnel of light, and that I was just showing that a lot of people with near-death experiences go down this tunnel of light, and they always meet these three beings that are digital, and they drag them back here. So if you can be dragged back here like that, why can't Magdalene be dragged here? Why can't Andromeda be dragged here? So if you look at this whole story of the Draco and the Andromeda and the river Eridanos, and Hebrew means to cross over the river, we're literally talking about this as above, so below. Where are we actually from? It is connected like through an umbilical cord back to Andromeda. And the projected place that we are now is somewhere in the Orion arm of the Sagittarius galaxy. So we're not supposed to be here. We're basically the food and the breeding stock that was brought from Andromeda for this fallen race. And this race is going to have a heck of a time, but now it has basically, like I said, the queen is so excited. She's not actually dead. None of them are. But they are really excited that they can stop using us, the women from the water worlds, for their DNA, for their intelligence, for their psychic abilities. We gave them that. That's from us. So, see how it goes without us, folks. You're going to be trapped here in Hades. Isn't that interesting? So back to the fellow who found me by having one of my videos shown at a Christian evangelical thing. He had all the light bulbs turn on suddenly, like searching through this baloney for somebody who actually cares and is not making perpetual holocausts of he-goats to Yahweh, that it makes a lot of sense that we're in some kind of bizarre technology that forces the soul back in here. But what I understand, I hope you can get this, is the RH positive group is being uploaded to 5, 6, and 7D in a perpetual state of hell, where they'll live in like a reality TV program. So you hear all kinds of those New Agers. Who's more dangerous? A New Ager? A religious person? Or Tracy Twyman's work on genuflect? You see, when someone's explaining to you exactly how they do it here, that person gets criticized. But we're not looking at the big picture of what's going on here. And because everything looks like linear to you, like, space looks like some kind of screen out there, you also don't understand the whole idea of the cosmic egg and the hologram, and how this chained woman Andromeda could actually be dragged in here into this morphogenetic field and turn from a selkie, hair-covered sea creature who can shapeshift into something like this that cannot shapeshift and is stuck in a physical human meat suit. So that's been a lot of my work. And I still think people do not understand me, and they're like, oh, there's no problem with the feminine. There's no transvestite priesthood. So when I started reading this book, and I was like, wow, so it really could be like this, that they just need to have like these horrible, perverted sex rituals, and that's how they can keep the inversion. And she says, basically, yeah, if you look at the art associated with this stuff, you see how it's always from like this place to this cosmic place. There's a ladder. And I remember covering the Templars' Magic Square and saying it's something about that ladder that somehow they're able to use this languaging and spin off the Holocaust, what are they called? Perpetual Holocaust and the accompanying libations off to Yahweh and his crew. And then these people who committed the atrocity get the gold. And she even explains how they like get gold. And recently, one of those practitioners went into the Federal Reserve to show that the gold was in fact there. And that's called alchemy. That's how they do it. They can manifest the whole thing. And then they've got to create geometries that match the heavens of the cosmic egg to pull down the whole Andromeda galaxy into this. And I think Earth is really just like a ship, just like Nibiru is. So I think Earth is a ship and it can be moved. And I had covered that before. So in terms of all of this stuff at the very end of this book, where she's questioning this whole thing of the Superman character and that it was written by some man, Jerry Siegel, and that it had a character, Lois Lane, who was based on his girlfriend, who is actually Lois Rothschild. So if you're wondering if they can make a different sun, if they can invert the whole thing, yes, that's how they do it. They do it through perversion. And they did it through language and the Tower of Babel and religion. And the other thing I've been studying, and I don't know if I brought that notebook over here, so I'm not sure I can do that today, is I've been studying the ancient Hebrew. And I find it fascinating how the ancient Hebrew, which is a creator language and is part of our meat suit DNA, like it tells the whole story. I feel like I should just grab that notebook. So this is really interesting for you to be able to hear the keywords of creation of this Yahweh character. It's really fascinating to me. So I'm only going to be doing the Paleo Hebrew. And so, you know, I'm a real human, so I wrote it all out. And what is the first thing? It's the bull. It's the bull, okay? It also can be called an ox, which is the head of Taurus, which is Andromeda, which according to this is God, creator, first, strength, and the leader. Isn't that interesting? And yet in the genuflect book, it's like they always have to sacrifice the bull, right? While sodomizing it, and they slit its throat so that they can get this energy, they can draw it off. And the same thing here in the numbers. Like you've got to make this to sin, and sin is the moon. S-I-N is the moon, right? So they're making the oblations not for, you know, some bad thing they did, but they're turning it through the wheel, right? Back to these archons that are in the sky, making the many layers of the cosmic egg of the system environment that we are in here. So then if you look through the Paleo Hebrew, Aleph which is A, which is God, is a bull, which is Andromeda, which is Taurus, which is exactly as above, so below. They're literally pulling the energy off of an inversion that has happened to the feminine, so that this God is a masculine, patriarch, wrathful, revengeful, jealous God. That's an inversion, is it not? I mean, is that what God actually is? And then when you get to about Mem, down here with Mem, okay, I thought that was really interesting. Mem is also Ma, which, would be like the sound of Ma. And that one is called water, chaos, disorder, strength, mighty, and the Messiah. Because what I understand was they brought the Mer women in to create the Essene line, which then created like Yahweh's chosen one, who is his example. And they brought in Magdalenes, women from the Mer line, to do that. So Mem. And then right after that is Nun, which is a sperm. So we've got Ma, the water, and then Mem, the sperm. And I was like, wow. So we've got this waveform water of Mem, like an M. And then the next thing you see is life, activity, action, or to catch desire, is this little thing that looks like a sperm. Isn't that interesting? Then when I looked at another example of, and you can take a screenshot if you want to, if I looked at another example of Paleo, or what's called archaic Hebrew, so a creation language, and I've done this all with Sanskrit and other languages too, so I'm very into symbols. Obviously, that's why I'm a great astrologer. But one, which is the head of the bull, is the prime mover. And then Mem or Ma, this waveform one, is the blood of the baptism. So in this Paleo Hebrew, it said Mem or Ma was water, chaos, disorder, strength, mighty, and Messiah, because in fact it was Magdalene, the Mer women line, Magda, amygdala, that has the psychic power and can also do sex magic. Yes, it's true. And then over here, Mem or Ma is the blood of baptism, and the sperm is called the faithful servant. I was like, wow. You see how important symbols and studying the ancient texts and pulling it all together, because they're not going to just like tell us, folks. You have to study the art. Does this woman look happy? I mean, she's got crushed rose flowers like all around her. What does that tell you? Her bloom, right? So that is a quick video because I just needed to follow up with some things. And, I have been telling you about the risks of this stuff also. And I found this in an article that this stuff is also in packaging, and the food industry is putting it in food extensively. And yet when I tried to go to the links for this, none of them worked. They were all like private government links. And I was like, wow. So they put this right in the front of a magazine. This is a Mother Earth, which I got free from the library, just, looking at how people are doing gardens. And this one was from 2012. So they put that up in 2012, but they never told you how to be careful. In 2012, they knew the nanotechnology was in the food. That's why I'm like, I got a whole bunch of seeds and plants yesterday, and I am just planting like crazy, because who knows, if that was 2012, what is it now? So anyways, This is a video to kind of pull it all together, that this place is about Holocaust technology, and all it does is go around this wheel of the Armageddon, the apocalypse, another Holocaust. Now we're going to have these new levels of so-called gods coming in with their CRISPR technologies, and I'm not into it. I mean, I'm doing my spike protein detox like pretty heavily, but I also have to stay away from most people, keep my dog away, because the links that came out from Yale and Harvard this week is like, the people who have it in them are literally manufacturers of this stuff. So it's amazing. It's astounding. This is a really weird place. But again, the reason that you study is this group of the ones that have never taken the light of man, and they just do this genocide stuff again and again. They're going to follow us around the galaxy, around the multiverse. So you have to figure it out here, how they do these inversions. It's pretty obvious. It's through perverted sex rights and the introduction of technology. So I don't know, folks. It's about March, and I'll maybe get into some asteroids for the eclipses and so forth. But when I looked at it, I was like, wow, just return to the sea. If the tidal waves come in, run toward it. Okay. And while you're here, enjoy the Monty Python show. You know, it gets stranger every day for me. But still, I go out and plant the flowers and enjoy the herbs and make great dinners. And so, you know, you're still a beautiful created being, no matter what is going on here in the Monty Python show. Okay, bye-bye for now.